The wind howls in the narrow alley, tearing snow from the rooftops and slapping them in the face like tiny glass. Leah holds her son close to her chest. Milo is wrapped in everything they own: her last thin sweater, a tattered scarf, an old fleece lining from her jacket. She's covered him with her body, but the cold penetrates through everything. Milo isn't crying anymore. He whimpers softly, then falls silent. His breathing becomes too slow, too light. Leah shakes him, strokes his cheek. "Milo, listen to Mom. Don't sleep." "You can't sleep." But her own eyelids are growing heavy. There's no feeling in her legs. The fingers that hold her son are numb. She thinks of a warm room, of a cup of hot soup. Such things happened once, in another life. Now they're just pictures in her head. They don't warm her. She looks at the dark windows of the houses around her. Not a single light is on. All the normal people are sleeping in their warm beds. They don't know that just a few steps from their doors, a mother and child are freezing. Leah understands. This is the end. They won't survive this night. Her thoughts become confused. She remembers her father's face, his laughter. Then she remembers another face, the man who took everything. The anger that burned within her all these months fades. All that remains is a heavy, icy emptiness and a terrible clarity. She couldn't protect him. She brings her cheek to Milo's head, inhaling his childish scent. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry." Snow falls on her eyelashes. The world slowly fades into a white haze. The harsh yellow light hurts her eyes. Leah blinks. The snow around her turns bright white. She hears the quiet rumble of an engine. Her heart skips a beat with a new fear. Not the police. Not an ambulance. There are other cars driving in this neighborhood at night, with bad people. She hugs Milo even tighter, trying to make herself smaller, invisible, blending into the wall and the trash cans. A black SUV pulls up smoothly and stops a meter away from them. Leah closes her eyes. They'll come out now. They'll laugh. They'll take everything they have, or worse. The car door opens. Bang. Silence. Then light steps in the snow. Not heavy like a man's. Quick, short. Leah carefully opens one eye. A little girl stands before her. She's wrapped in a white down jacket with a hood and wears bright pink boots. She stares at Leah without blinking. Leah expects pity, fear, disgust. She's seen those looks many times before. But there's nothing like that in the girl's gaze. Her large, dark eyes study Leah, then Milo. There's no childish absent-mindedness in them. There's a sharp, cold concentration, like a doctor assessing a wound. The girl doesn't say a word. She turns abruptly and runs back to the car, to the open front passenger door. Leah sees the girl saying something to the driver. She's gesturing, her face serious. The girl then turns again and walks toward Leah. A man emerges from the driver's door behind her. He's tall, very tall, and broad-shouldered. He wears a dark coat, unbuttoned. He moves easily despite his size, and his face is impossible to see in the shadow of his hood. He doesn't come close. He stops 2 steps away, watching. The girl comes closer. She leans towards Milo. "He's frozen," the girl says. Her voice is clear and ringing, but there's no question in it. It's a statement of fact. Leah can only nod. She doesn't have the strength to speak. The girl takes off her white scarf, soft and fluffy. With quick, confident movements, she unfolds the rags around Milo and wraps his neck and head in the warm material. "I'm G," the girl introduces herself, still holding the child, adjusting the scarf. Then she looks at the man. "Dad, I need help." The man steps forward. The headlights catch his face. It's young, with sharp cheekbones and a firm chin, but his eyes are tired. He's looking not at Leah, but at G, who has already taken Milo's hand. "Get in the car," he says finally. His voice is low and quiet, but it cuts through the howling wind. Leah freezes. "Where? Why?" Fear grips her throat again. Her instincts scream at her. Nothing happens for nothing. No one helps for nothing. We, she tries to say. "You'll freeze here until morning," the man says, interrupting her. He's not threatening. He's simply stating what she already knows. "Decide quickly." He looks at G, who is already dragging Milo, wrapped in a scarf, toward the car. The girl is strong and determined. Leah looks at her son, at his pale face, then at this enormous stranger. She has no choice. It's not a choice between good and bad. It's a choice between death now and the unknown in 5 minutes. She mumbles, "Thank you," and tries to stand. Her legs won't obey her. The man, without a word, takes her elbow. His grip is firm, but not rough. He almost lifts her and helps her to the car. G is already in the back, buckled in, Holding Milo on her lap, Leah sits down next to the girl. The door slams shut. Inside, there's a scent of cleanliness, leather, and something barely perceptible, like precious wood, warmth. It envelops her, and the sudden transition causes her entire body to tremble with a fine, uncontrollable shudder. The man gets behind the wheel. He doesn't introduce himself. He glances in the rearview mirror, his gaze meeting G's. "Home?" the girl asks. "No," he answers shortly. "On Baker Street." The car starts moving. Leah presses herself against the door, trying to take up as little space as possible. She looks out the window at the dark alleyway disappearing into thin air. She's escaped the cold. But where are they taking her? And what price will she have to pay for this warmth? The car doesn't drive long. It enters a quiet neighborhood with tall trees and isolated houses. There are no snowdrifts here, and the roads are clear. They stop at one of these houses, a modern one, made of dark brick and glass. The man comes out and opens the door for G, who carefully hands Milo over to him. Then he looks at Leah. "Get out!" Leah obediently climbs out. Her legs still feel shaky. She expects to see a sign saying shelter or something similar, but it's just a wealthy house. A glass front door, and beyond it, a dark hallway. A man types something on a keypad by the door. There's a click. The door opens. He enters first and turns on the light. This isn't a house. It's a large, empty apartment. White walls, parquet floors, high ceilings. There's absolutely no furniture except for one black leather sofa in the center of the living room. No pictures, no curtains. There's a new carpet on the floor. And it's very, very warm in here. "Here!" the man says, walking further into the hallway. He opens one of the doors. It's a bedroom. It contains a wide bed with white linens, a nightstand, and a crib. Next to the crib is a stack of diapers, a package of baby food, and bottles. Leah pauses at the threshold. This isn't just help. This is a prepared place, as if she'd been expected. "Who are you?" she whispers. A man puts down a sleepy man Milo's in bed. G immediately comes over and straightens the blanket on him. "My name is Kang," he says finally, turning around. "This is a safe place. You can stay." A safe place. An empty luxury apartment. A crib bought in advance. None of this fits together. Hospitality from ordinary people looks different. This hospitality feels like a deal, and Leah doesn't know the terms. A new, deeper fear grips her. The cold of the alley was simple and understandable. This beautiful, warm emptiness, no, it's a golden cage, and the doors have already closed. Mr. Kang stands in the center of the living room. G holds his hand, but looks at Leah with such open anticipation that Leah feels uneasy. "The bathroom has everything you need. There's food in the fridge, baby food, water, fruit," Kang says, his voice still even and emotionless. "They'll bring clothes for you and the baby tomorrow. Your size." "Why?" Leah asks, her own voice sounding hoarse and alien. Khan looks at her. It seems like he's really looking at her face for the first time. His gaze lingers a second too long. "Because it's necessary," he answers evasively. "You can stay here as long as necessary. But there are 2 rules." Leah tenses. There it is. First, don't leave the apartment. Never. Without me or my person. Second, don't ask questions. Not about the house, not about my business, not about why I'm doing this. He says this not as a threat, but as a safety instruction. Dryly, clearly, Leah asks bluntly. She's ready for anything, cleaning, cooking, anything. Kang shakes his head. "Take care of your son." And he squeezes G's hand lightly. "Keep G company while she's here. She needs some company." And that's it? Leah doesn't believe it. It can't be. Nothing in this world is free, especially not such generosity. "I don't understand," she admits. "You don't have to," says Khan. "Consider it a debt I'm repaying." He looks past her, at the empty white wall. "Sleep. You're safe." He turns and walks into the hallway, leaving Leah alone with G and a sleeping Milo. The girl smiles at her. "Are you staying?" asks G. Leah looks at the warm, clean room, at her son in his crib. Again, she has no choice. "Yes," she says. "I'll stay." It's nighttime. Milo is fast asleep in his crib. Leah is lying on the big bed, unable to sleep. Her body aches with fatigue, but her brain is racing. Rules. Don't ask questions. So there are questions, dangerous ones. She gets up and goes to the window. It looks out onto a dark street, lit by the occasional streetlight. The neighborhood is asleep. Suddenly, a sedan pulls up under the window. Not Khan's black SUV. A silver one. A regular one. Two men in dark jackets get out. They take something out of the trunk. Two large cardboard boxes. They walk not toward the front door, but toward the back entrance. Leah had noticed earlier in the day. She presses herself against the wall, watching from the darkness of the room. The men disappear from view. A few minutes later, the light below, in the part of the house where the back door is apparently located, flickers on and off. Then it flickers on again. A signal? 5 minutes later, the men come out. They no longer have the boxes. They get into the car and drive away. Silence. What did they bring? Weapons? Money? Illegal goods? Leah thinks about Kane, about his demeanor, about the empty apartment, which is clearly not used for living, a shelter, or a warehouse, or both. She's a witness, an unnecessary witness, who for some reason wasn't killed but instead taken in. The don't ask questions rule now sounds like a warning. Don't interfere if you want to live. Leah returns to bed. She's shivering, but no longer from the cold. She's locked in a warm, comfortable cage whose walls could hide anything, and her son sleeps 20 steps away from this secret. Several days pass. Life settles into a strange semblance of routine. G comes over with her father almost every day after school. She draws, plays with Maylo, who is recovering quickly, and chats with Leah about her life. She talks about her dad, who works a lot, about school, but never about her mother. Kang rarely shows up. He brings food, checks that everything is all right, talks to G, and then leaves. His behavior toward Leah is polite but distant, as if she were a useful but fragile object that shouldn't be dropped. One day, while they were playing hide-and-seek, G ran into the study, the one room Leah tried to avoid. The girl laughed and hid behind a large bookcase. "I know a secret place!" G shouts. Leah enters the office. The room is empty, just a huge desk, a chair, and the same bookcase with a few books. G is fiddling around near the wall. There's a soft click. The section of wall next to the closet, which Leah mistook for a panel, slides sideways a few centimeters. A secret door. "Daddy doesn't know I found this," G whispers, her eyes shining with excitement. "Let's go!" Leah hesitates. The rule, don't ask questions. And peeking into secret rooms, that's the most important question. But curiosity and fear gnaw at her insides. What is Khan hiding? She follows G into a narrow, dark passage. G flicks the switch. The light flashes, and Leah freezes. She expects to see weapons, safes with money, something dangerous and illegal. But the room is small. It's a library. The shelves are filled from floor to ceiling with books. Old, new, in different languages. In the corner stands a deep armchair and a reading lamp. And along the far wall, toys. Not new. Old, a little tattered. A teddy bear with a missing ear. A dollhouse. A box of Lego. Girls' toys. Toys of G's age. Leah moves closer. On the shelf next to the chair sits a photograph in a simple frame. It shows a young woman with dark hair and a kind smile. She's hugging little G, who looks about 3 years old in the photo. The woman looks familiar. A stranger, but there's something about her features that makes Leah's heart beat faster. "This is Mom," G says quietly, approaching the photograph. She's not sad. She states it matter-of-factly. "She left. Dad says she's not coming back, but he left all her books and my old toys here. Sometimes he sits here alone, for a long time." Leah looks at the photograph, the toys, the books. This isn't a weapons cache. It's a memory cache, a shrine that Khan hides from the world and from himself. And then she understands. His coldness, his strict rules, his incomprehensible generosity to a strange mother and child. It's not just duty. These are ghosts. His own lost family lives in this secret room, and she and Maylo are some kind of living surrogates, whom he is trying to save because he couldn't save his own. She felt both more terrified and calmer. More terrified because she had found herself in the very center of someone else's unhealed wound. Calmer because the motive, however painful, had become clear. It wasn't calculation. It was desperation. She takes G's hand. "We better get out before we're seen," Leah says. "It's your and Dad's secret. Let's keep it." They exit, and the door closes silently. The wall becomes just a wall again. But for Leah, everything has changed. She saw a crack in Mr. Khan's stone mask, and now she knows what lies behind it. Pain, as deep as her own. After visiting the secret room, Leah feels different. The fear doesn't go away, but now it's tinged with understanding. She begins to notice details. On the third day after that, she's cleaning the office. Khan didn't forbid her from entering, she just avoided the room herself. Now she's dusting the huge, empty desk. There's no computer on it, just a couple of file folders and a heavy glass ashtray. Leah moves the ashtray and notices a sheet of paper folded in quarters underneath it. It's clearly old, the edges yellowed. She looks around. G is asleep in the living room after dinner, and so is Milo. Leah carefully unfolds the paper. It's a newspaper clipping, black and white, slightly blurry. It shows a group of people in uniform. Leah immediately recognizes one face. It's younger, less wrinkled around the eyes, but it's unmistakably Kang's. He's standing in the front row, his posture straight and confident. He's wearing a police uniform. He looks straight into the camera, and his eyes aren't as heavy as they are now. Only determination. Leah's gaze shifts to the headline. She reads slowly. Recognized for bravery. Heroes of the Special Forces. The article lists names. His name is there. Kim Ji-hoon. He was a policeman. And not just a regular, but from some Special Forces unit. Her breath caught in her throat. A policeman. And now? Who? What is he doing now? Why does he have an empty warehouse apartment, secret rooms, and people who deliver boxes at night? Why doesn't he wear a uniform anymore? She looks at the photo again, at this young, almost boyish Khan, who believes in law and justice. Where did that man go? Leah quickly folds the clipping and places it back under the ashtray, in exactly the same position. Her hands are shaking. She knows she's unearthed something very important, something that explains the gap between the man in the photo and the one who saved her. She now understands why his help feels like duty, like service, remnants of that old life. But this knowledge doesn't calm her down. It frightens her even more. If he was a policeman and now he's handling cases like this, then something has gone wrong, very wrong, and she's caught in the middle of it. A couple of days later, there's a knock on the door. Leah jumps. Khan hadn't warned her about his visit. G is with him today, she's not. The knocking is repeated, persistent, but not harsh. Leah approaches the video intercom by the door. On the screen is an unfamiliar man in a casual jacket and cap. He has a neutral expression and is holding a small flat bag. "Delivery for the tenant," the man says into the intercom. Leah hesitates. The rule, don't open the door to anyone, but Khan said they'd bring clothes. Maybe this is it? She doesn't answer, hoping the man will leave, but he knocks again. "Mrs. Lee? From Mr. Khan." He knows her name, the fake name she gave Kanu that first night. This convinces her. She opens the door with the chain. The man sees her through the crack and immediately hands her a bag. "For you. Everything's inside." She takes care of the bag. It's heavier than it looks. "No signature required," the man says. He nods and quickly leaves without waiting for an answer. Leah closes the door, locks it, and carries the bag into the kitchen. Inside are several packages of new baby clothes for Milo, good quality and in the right size, and underneath them is a thick white envelope. She opens it. Inside is a wad of cash. Not huge, but enough to last a few months, and 2 plastic cards in the paper corners. One is a bank debit card. It has no name on it, just a number. The second is a health insurance card. Leah looks at it, and her stomach turns cold. Her name is clearly printed on the card. Her real name, Leah Morgan, and the social security number is real, legal. How? How did he do it? How did he find out? She didn't tell anyone. She was afraid. That means he checked her out. He found out everything, and not just found out, but was able to create new, clean documents. An ordinary person doesn't do such things, and certainly not a former police officer acting within the law. She sits at the kitchen table and stares at the map. A feeling of gratitude mingles with a chilling dread. She owes a debt to the man who has the power to erase and recreate her identity, to the man who knows everything about her, and who hides his past in a secret room and under an ashtray on the table. That evening, Khan and G arrive. G immediately runs to Milo and shows him the new rattle. Khan silently notices the opened package on the table. He nods, seeing that Leah has received the things, but says nothing. After dinner, when Khan goes to the office, G stays with Leah in the kitchen. The girl is drawing. Suddenly, without raising her head, she says, "My mother left when I was 4 years old." Leah freezes. She looks at G. She wasn't sick. She and Dad didn't fight. It's just, one day she was gone. Dad said she went far, far away. For work. But I know that's not true. "Why do you think that?" Leah asks cautiously. "Because Dad cried a lot then. He thought I couldn't see. and he quit his job. We had a different house. Then we moved here, and he became different. He didn't let anyone in, ever. Not friends, not relatives, just me. He always checks everything. The door, the windows, the car. G finally looks at Leah. There's a childlike frankness in her eyes. But he let you in. And Milo. He didn't even ask much. He just helped. I don't remember that. Leah feels a lump in her throat. She realizes she's the first person in years to cross the boundary Khan has built around himself and his daughter. Not by his will, but by chance and G's stubbornness. He probably loves you very much and is afraid for you, Leah says. G nods. I know. That's why I keep quiet. I don't ask about Mom. I don't show that I see how bad he feels sometimes. But with you, he sometimes watches when you play with Milo, and he doesn't frown. Not much. This trust, this girl's revelation, is more precious and more frightening than any documents. Leah understands that she's more than just a guest to them. She's become part of the fragile balance in their lives, and this makes her situation even more dangerous. If she leaves or something goes wrong, it won't just hurt her. It will hurt G, and perhaps break Khan completely. A week passes. Khan leaves early in the morning, saying he'll be back late. G is at school. Leah is alone with Milo. She's feeding her son breakfast when she hears a strange sound at the front door. Not a knock, the sound of an electronic click, then the soft but distinct sound of a lock being released. An icy chill runs down Leah's spine. She quickly stands, picks up Milo, and retreats into the back of the kitchen, toward the back door she never opened. The front door opens. Two men enter the apartment. They talk to each other, not seeing her. Should be on the bottom shelf, I'll check. Hurry up, we have 15 minutes. They walk into the living room. Then they notice Leah, frozen in the kitchen doorway with a baby in her arms. Everyone freezes. The men look shocked. They are not young guys, but men in their 40s, dressed in ordinary work clothes. One of them holds a key card. Oh, excuse me, ma'am, says the one with the key, coming to his senses first. We didn't know anyone was here. We needed to check some plumbing. The lie doesn't sound convincing. They don't look like plumbers. They don't have any tools. And they got in with a key. They clearly knew the code or had their own key to this apartment. Leah doesn't answer. She just looks at them, holding Milo close. We'll come back another time, the second man mutters. He looks even more nervous than the first. They quickly retreat to the door. Sorry to bother you. They walk out and the door closes quietly behind them. Leah stands motionless until she hears the car drive away. Then she slowly approaches the door and checks the lock. It's locked. These people locked the door from the outside. They had full access. She thinks about the boxes brought in at night, about the secret room, about the policeman in the photo. This apartment is more than just a shelter. It's a place used by other people, and they clearly didn't expect to find strangers here. Leah's heart is pounding. She needs to check what these men were doing. She places Milo in the playpen and carefully walks into the living room. Everything looks as usual. Nothing has been touched. She checks the bedroom, the bathroom. Nothing. Then she goes into the office. It's all tidy here, too. A table, a chair, a closet. She's about to go out when a beam of light from the window falls on the dark parquet floor right at the entrance. Something glitters. Small, dark, damp. Leah leans over. It's a drop of blood. It's fresh, not yet dry. She straightens up and looks around. Nothing. Then she slowly walks away from the drop. Another one. A small one. It leads to the wall, to the place where the secret door is. There is blood on the floor just in front of the panel that hides the entrance. Leah isn't breathing. Did these men know about the room? Were they doing something there? Or was the blood here before? Maybe she didn't notice. She hesitates to open the door. Instead, she runs to the bathroom, grabs a paper towel and disinfectant spray. She returns and carefully wipes the drops from the floor. Then she sprays the spray. The smell of chlorine overpowers everything else. She doesn't know whose blood it is, or what it means. But one thing is clear. The security of this apartment is an illusion. Strangers could enter, and this house contains secrets that could be dangerous. The blood on the floor in front of the hidden door is the most direct proof of that. Kang returns late, when it's already dark. Leah hears the door open, and him taking off his shoes. He peers into the living room, where she's sitting reading. Milo is already asleep. Is everything okay? He asks in his usual even tone. Leah looks at him and notices. He moves his left hand a little stiffly, and when he turns to hang up his jacket, she sees a barely noticeable but unwashed stain under the arm on his light-colored shirt. Dark brown, almost black, a blood stain. He follows her gaze and realizes what she's seen. He freezes. His face first becomes stony, and then a tired compliance appears in his eyes. He's too tired to hide any longer. "Is G sleeping?" he asks quietly. "Yes," Leah answers just as quietly. He nods, walks into the kitchen, and pours himself a glass of water. Leah follows him. "This afternoon, there were guests," she says, not taking her eyes off him. He puts down the glass without turning around. "I know. I was told. It was a mistake. They shouldn't have come in while you were here. It won't happen again." "They had a key," Leah says. "I was," he corrects. Now he turns to face her. His face is tired but calm. "Not anymore. And thanks for cleaning the office." He knows. He knows about the blood. So it's his blood. Or he thinks it's his blood. "You were a police officer," Leah says suddenly. She hadn't planned on saying it. The words just slipped out. He doesn't look surprised. He looks at her for a long moment, appraisingly. "Yes, once upon a time," he says finally. "It was a long time ago. And now? What do you do now?" He sighs. He raises his right hand and adjusts the cuff of his left shirt, briefly revealing his wrist. Leah sees a neat white bandage. "Now I do what I have to do to protect my own," he says. "Sometimes my job is dirty. I'm not proud of it. But my home," he glances around the clean, quiet kitchen. "My home isn't. It's supposed to be safe. Your son. It's clean. That's the rule. It's the only thing I have left from those times." There are no excuses in his voice. There is only fact. Bitter, unvarnished fact. He has crossed a line. He is no longer the man in the newspaper photograph, but he is trying to maintain an island of purity amid the filth into which he has sunk. This house, this apartment, is his attempt at redemption. He takes a sip of water and looks at her. "Did you get the envelope?" he asks. "Yes. And the map. You know my name. I know enough to help, or to stay out of your way if you want to leave," he says. "The money and the cards are yours. You can take them and disappear. Tomorrow. Find a room, get a job, start over. That's one option." Leah is silent. She senses a trap in these words, but she doesn't understand where it is. "What about the second option?" she asks. "Second," he puts down the glass. "You're staying here until I fix what's broken in your life. You said you had problems with your paperwork, that you're being stalked by someone from your past. I can fix that. Forever. Erase old debts. Create a new history. Clean, legal. So you and Maylo can live without looking over your shoulder." Leah looks at him, not believing her ears. He's offering the impossible. "Why?" she blurts out. "Why would you do this? What do you want from it?" Khan looks past her, into the dark hallway leading to G's bedroom. His expression softens for a split second. "Because one day, I failed to help the one I was supposed to protect," he says, very quietly. "I wore the uniform. I swore an oath. And then, I turned away. Not right away, but at the most crucial moment. And the person I was supposed to help was gone. That stayed with me." He looks straight at Leah. "I can't fix that mistake, but I can. Try to do right now. Here. Not as a cop. As someone who has the means to do so. No strings attached. Just let me know what you choose." He waits. Leah feels the room floating around her. She stands on the edge of an abyss. On one side, freedom, but with the ghost of the past behind her. On the other, complete, total salvation, offered by a man whose own life is a dark abyss. A man who seeks salvation himself by trying to save her. What's more dangerous? Her old enemy? Or this new, powerful patron with the bloody shirt and the ghost in the secret room? She doesn't know. But she looks at the door of the room where her son sleeps, and she realizes there really is no choice. The next morning, Leah wakes up with a heavy decision in her chest. She hasn't said yes to Khan yet, but she hasn't said no either. She watches silently. After breakfast, a stranger rings the doorbell. It's not the man with the bag. It's a woman of about 40 wearing a formal but expensive suit. She's holding a briefcase and a hanger with clothes in a bag. "My name is Elaine. Mr. Khan asked me to work with you," she says, smiling a professional smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. Elaine turns out to be a stylist and, as she calls herself, a social integration coach. She lays out clothes on the couch. Simple but high-quality trousers, blouses, a sheath dress, a warm but stylish winter jacket. Everything is chosen to fit Leah. This is your basic wardrobe. Let's learn how to combine them, Elaine says, and the lesson begins. She teaches Leah how to sit properly, how to hold a fork and knife, and how to make small talk about the weather and the latest movies. She corrects her posture and shows her how to look into her eyes without looking down. You should look unremarkable, but confident, like a normal, successful, middle-class person, Elaine explains. Leah feels like a doll. They dress her up, teach her to walk and talk. For what? What kind of normal life requires such preparation? She's not going to social events. She needs a job in a cafe or an office where no one will notice her manners. Mr. Khan is planning a good position for you. At a reputable firm. You need the right look for it, Elaine says, as if reading her mind. A good position. In a reputable company. It sounds like a fairy tale, and like a trap. The more valuable the position he prepares for her, the more attached she will be to him, the more deeply she will enter his world. These lessons are not preparation for freedom. They are preparation for life in a different, more beautiful cage. That evening, after Elaine leaves, Leah feels the need for silence and understanding. G is with her father, and she is alone. She cautiously enters the study. Her heart is pounding. She approaches the secret door, the click she remembers, and she is inside. She doesn't turn on the overhead light, only the small lamp on the table. She sits down in a chair and looks at the books. They're not just there for show. They've been read. Some have bookmarks. She picks up a volume of poetry at random. A photograph falls out. Leah picks it up. It's not the photo in the frame. It's a younger picture. It shows the same woman, Hana, laughing, her head thrown back. She was taken at some picnic, and at that moment, at that angle, with that smile, she looks strikingly like Leah. Leah's breath catches. She turns the photo over. On the back is neat handwriting. Summer by the lake. Hana, my joy. Forgive me. August 12th, 2018. The date is a few months before, according to G. Her mother left. Sorry. Kang apologizes to her in the photo. For what? Leah looks at Hannah's face. Now so much falls into place. His long gaze on her that first night. His willingness to help. His pain. He sees her as more than just someone in need. He sees the ghost of the woman he lost. Or betrayed. She's a reminder. A living, breathing reminder of his greatest mistake. And he's trying to right that wrong through her. That explains his motive. And makes his help even more dangerous. He's not saving her. He's saving his conscience. And what will happen when he realizes she's not Hana? That she can't forgive him? A week later, Khan announces that Leah can go for a short walk, with security. Time to get used to the outdoors. A little fresh air will do Maylo good, he says. The guard, introduced as Min, is a man younger than Kang, with alert eyes and a calm demeanor. He leads them to a small park 2 blocks from the house. For Leah, she hasn't been outside without a purpose, without the goal of finding shelter or food, for over a year. The sun, albeit winter, the cries of children on the playground, the smell of frosty air, all of it crashes down on her. She feels simultaneously dizzy and incredibly light. Maylo, in a warm jumpsuit from that very same package, looks around with interest. They stroll along the cleared paths. Min keeps 10 paces away, not intruding, but constantly glancing around. Leah catches herself now eyeing passers-by with suspicion. She's looking for familiar faces from her past, or Khan's people. And she's not wrong. One time, she notices a man walking past too slowly, talking on his phone. His gaze slid over her appraisingly, without the interest of a passerby. Then he turned the corner. Min said something into the microphone on his sleeve. Leah sits down on a bench to give Maylo a drink of water. Min stands at a distance, smoking an e-cigarette and watching the entrance to the park. A woman with a dog approaches the bench. She is middle-aged, wearing an expensive sheepskin coat. She smiles at Leah. What a sweet baby, may I? She nods at Maylo. Leah nods, wary. The woman strokes Milo's cheek. Then she rummages through her purse. Excuse me, do you have a light? She asks, taking out a pack of cigarettes. No, I don't smoke, says Leah. The woman leans closer, pretending to look at the lighter in her bag. Her lips almost touch Leah's ear. Her voice becomes quiet, sharp, without a trace of her previous politeness. He's using you. You're bait, or a human shield. Run while you can, before he sacrifices you, like he sacrificed her. The woman straightens up and smiles her social smile. Too bad. Oh well, have a nice day. And she leaves without looking back, taking the dog with her. Leah sits, as if paralyzed. How he brought her. Her, Hana. Min approaches, wary. Is everything okay? What did she want? She asked for fire. Leah replies automatically. Her voice sounds alien. Let's go home. Milo's cold. Returning to the apartment, Leah feels a surge of panic. She locks herself in the bathroom and turns on the water to drown out the sounds. She needs to check everything. She has an old, cheap phone that Khan gave her for calls. It doesn't have internet access, but there's a computer in the office. It's old, but it works. Khan has never explicitly forbidden her from using it. When she's sure she's alone, she sits down at the computer. She searches for her name, Leah Morgan. The first links are nothing important. Old mentions on social media, the university archive. Then she adds keywords to the search. Fire, death. And he finds it. An article in the local newspaper from 6.5 months ago. The headline, Young Woman Dies in Overnight Fire in Oak Street Apartment. Leah reads, and the world swims before her eyes. The article describes her apartment, her address. The deceased is reported to be Leah Morgan, 28. The cause of the fire is under investigation, but faulty wiring is suspected. No relatives have been found at the time of publication. The date of the fire. Leah looks at it again. It was 2 days after she fled from her father's former partner, Markus. Rowe finally found herself on the street, and that was 3 days before that frosty night when Khan found her. Someone burned down her apartment and declared her dead. Who benefited? Markus. Rowe is Sonolmi to write off her father's debts and get rid of the main witness of his machinations? Possibly. But now a new, terrifying thought arises. What if Khan did this? What if he didn't find her by accident? What if he first erased her from reality, declaring her dead, and then picked her up to control her, to have a perfect, unattached persona for his own purposes? Bait or human shield, as the woman said. That night, Leah doesn't sleep. She sits in the dark and watches the sleeping man. Maylo. Fragments of information are spinning in her head. Hana's photo, the article about the fire, the stranger's words, the blood on the floor, the police uniform in the faded photo. She understands that her death was very beneficial to someone. Markus Rowe is the obvious candidate. But Khan, with his connections, with his ability to create new documents, he could have erased her past in other ways. But why fake her death? So that she would be completely at his mercy? So that no one would come looking for her? Perhaps Khan isn't her savior. Perhaps he's her jailer, the most sophisticated one. He gave her warmth, food, care, even lessons in manners. He gave her everything except truth and freedom. He hides her not from external enemies, but from her entire former life, the one he himself destroyed. And the external threat is just a show, designed to make her fear him and cling to him. Or the enemy is real. And Khan, having learned of her situation, simply used the already prepared cover story about her death to hide her more securely. But then who is this woman in the park? How does she know about Hana? Is she from the enemy camp? Or from Khan's camp, but is warning her? There's essentially no choice. If she runs away now, with the money and documents, either Markus will hunt her down. Rowe, if he's alive and believes she's dead, or Khan's men, or maybe both. And she's holding a child. She's trapped. A trap whose walls are either Khan's noble motives or his terrible secrets, and she needs to find out which is true. She can't wait any longer. The next morning, when Khan comes to pick G up for school, Leah asks him to stay a minute. G goes out into the hallway to put on his shoes. I found a photo in that room, Leah says bluntly, without preamble. She looks him in the eye. Hana, who is she? Khan's face instantly turns stony. Something wild, sick flashes in his eyes. But he doesn't deny knowing about the room. He clenches his jaw. Why did you go there? His voice is quiet and dangerous. I need to understand. Who is she? And what will happen to me? He stares at her for a long moment. The struggle within him is visible to the naked eye. Finally, he looks away, looking out the window. She was my wife, Mother G, he says quietly, and she was in danger. I had to protect her. I thought I had the situation under control. I was a policeman. I thought my uniform and my connections meant something, but I was wrong. I realized too late how much danger she was in, and when I rushed to save her, it was too late. She was gone. He turns to Leah. His eyes reflect the same pain Leah saw on the back of the photograph. You ask who she is? She is the one I didn't save, because of my overconfidence. Because I thought the rules of the game were my own. He takes a step towards Leah. His voice becomes hard, almost metallic. And I give you my word. I swear on her memory. I will not let history repeat itself. Not with you, not with your son. I saw your case. I know who you're running from. And I know this man won't stop. He's already declared you dead. The next step is to make it true. I won't let that happen. Because now I'm playing without the rules. Khan does indeed arrange an interview for Leah. It's at a small but reputable law firm that handles bankruptcy cases. The irony isn't lost on Leah. Her father was ruined by fraud, and she'll be helping handle similar cases. This is the beginning. Legal work, legal income. In 6 months, you'll be able to rent your own apartment, says Kang. He seems sincere. On the morning of the interview, Min is supposed to drive Leah. The car isn't Kang's black SUV, but a gray sedan, less conspicuous. Leah gets into the back seat with Maylo, whom she'll drop off at a private daycare along the way. They drive out of the quiet neighborhood and into traffic. Leah is nervous. This is her first time out into the big world on her own. At the intersection, as their car pulls away on a green light, a large cargo van comes barreling out of a side street at full speed. It doesn't slow down. It deliberately, seemingly oblivious to the red light, hits the side of their sedan. The impact is deafening. The world spins. Leah screams, covering Maylo in the child's seat. Glass shatters. Metal screeches. Their car is thrown onto the sidewalk and crashes into a lamppost. The airbags deploy. There's a ringing in her ears. Leah panics and checks on Maylo. He's crying but seems unharmed. She looks at the front seat. Min is leaning back against the cushion, blood flowing from a cut on his forehead. He's groaning, trying to move. And the van? The van doesn't stop. With a rumble and a clang, on a flat tire, it turns the corner and disappears. This was no accident. This was an assassination attempt. An ambulance and the police arrive. Leah is in shock, repeating that they're all fine. Mina is taken to the hospital. Khan arrives 10 minutes after the call. His face is pale with rage. He takes Leah aside while the police search the scene. Are you sure Maylo is okay? Yeah, he was just scared. How's Min? Concussion, cuts, he'll survive. Khan snaps. He looks at the wrecked car. They knew the route. They knew the time. This wasn't a random hit. Who are they? Markus? Khan shakes his head, his gaze dark. Markus Rowe is a rat. But he wouldn't have attacked so openly. And he wouldn't have known your route. Only I, Min, and the dispatcher in my garage, who parked the car on the exit, knew the route. He falls silent, and Leah sees something click in his eyes. A terrible understanding. The threat is real, but it didn't just come from outside. Someone from my people passed information on to them. Someone from within. Betrayal. It hangs in the air between them. If there's a traitor in Khan's inner circle, then Leah's safety is a myth. It means Khan isn't omnipotent. It means his own organization has cracked. And through that crack, they were approached. Returning to the apartment, which no longer feels like an impenetrable fortress, Leah gives Maylo a sedative and puts him to bed. She goes out into the living room. Kang stands by the window, looking into the darkness. I can't do this anymore, Leah says quietly. I'm sitting here like a rabbit in a hole, waiting to be attacked again. I don't want this kind of life for my son. Khan turns around. What are you suggesting? You said you play by the rules. Play. But don't hide me. Use me. He frowns. How? As bait. If they want to make sure I'm dead, or catch me, give them a chance. But on our territory, by our rules. You bring the traitor to light. I help you, but in exchange, the whole truth. About everything. About Khan. About the fire in my apartment. About your affairs. I don't want to be in the dark anymore. He looks at her for a long moment. He sees determination in her eyes. Not fear. The same determination that drove his daughter out into the snowy night. He nods slowly. It's dangerous. Very dangerous. Inaction is even more dangerous, Leah counters. Silence falls. This silence is not hostility or suspicion. It is the silence of agreement. A truce. They are no longer savior and saved. Not jailer and prisoner. They become allies in the same war. Each with their own motives. His is redemption and vengeance. Hers is survival and freedom. Okay, Khan finally says. We start tomorrow. First, we'll find the rat. Then, we'll lure the fox out of its hole. Leah nods. For the first time in months, she feels not helplessness, but strength. A terrible, perilous strength. She's entering the game. A game in which their lives are at stake. The next day, after Maylo falls asleep, Khan brings a thin folder into the living room. He places it on the table in front of Leah. True, as you asked, he says. his voice tired but firm. Leah opens the folder. At the top is a photograph. It shows a smiling man of about 50 with a neat graying beard. He's dressed in an expensive suit, standing against the backdrop of a yacht. Leah has never seen him, but she knows that face. Markus Rowe, her father's partner, the man whose schemes ruined their family. And when her father tried to report it to the police, he blamed him for everything. Her father died of a heart attack, unable to bear the shame. And a hunt began for Leah because she knew the truth and had access to her father's old papers. "He's no ordinary con man," says Kang, sitting down across from me. "He has connections, very dirty connections. Your death in the fire was very convenient for him. It closed all the loose ends. When you survived and disappeared, he started to get nervous. His people were looking for you, and when word came in that you'd been seen in my neighborhood, he realized you'd found protection, and he decided to take drastic action. But how did he get in touch with your man? How did he find the traitor?" Kang looks at the photo with cold hatred. "Markus Rowe has a business. Part of that business is money laundering, through auto repair shops, through trucking. I also conduct my operations through some of these channels. Our worlds have collided. He learned that I have a new asset, a woman with a child. He made an inquiry, and someone was found who, for a large sum of money, was willing to provide an answer. The plan to find the traitor is simple and brutal." Kang announces that due to the accident, Leah's security has been increased. She is being transferred to a new, more secret apartment. He discusses the route and timing in detail with his two closest aides. One of these aides is a young bodyguard, Jin. The other is the elderly driver, So, the same one who sometimes delivered groceries. The one Kang once mentioned as picking up one winter many years ago, hungry and homeless. The information about the move is a lie. Leah and Maylo remain in the apartment, but it's as if they're leaving. Khan and his men leave in cars, pretending to be a convoy, and they wait. 2 hours later, a text message from an anonymous number arrives on Khan's phone. The text is brief. Intercepted conversation. Ambush planned at the corner of 5th and Vine Streets. Be careful. This is the exact location mentioned in the false plan. Kang shows Leah the message. His face darkens. He calls Jin. It's clear. Come back. Then he calls S.O. The phone doesn't answer. An hour later, S was found in his small apartment. He made no attempt to escape. He was sitting in a chair, drinking whiskey. When Khan's men entered, he simply looked up at them. There was no fear in them, only weary despair. He offered me a sum I couldn't earn in 3 lifetimes, So said, looking at Khan when he was brought in. Money for my grandson's operation. Abroad. You would have helped, of course, but I couldn't ask. Not after everything you've done for me. And he just gave it. Just like that. Just for information. Khan looked at the man he'd once saved. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply asked, she could have died in that accident. And the child, too. Have you thought about that? So lowered his head. I thought they were just trying to scare you, to force you to give her up. I didn't know about the truck. The betrayal wasn't out of hatred, out of weakness, out of despair. That made it even more bitter. So was taken away. Khan was gloomy. He had been defeated again by human weakness, first his own, now the weakness of someone he trusted. Leah approached him. Enough hiding. He's attacking because he's afraid. He's afraid that I'm alive. So my life is our weapon. What do you suggest? Make sure everyone sees that I'm alive. Not just some fake people. Everyone, on television. Give an interview. Tell the whole truth about Markus Rowe, about his machinations, about how he drove my father to death, how he staged the fire. If I become a public figure, his dirty connections won't be able to simply eliminate me, and the police will be forced to reopen the investigation. Khan frowned skeptically. Television won't show something like this without evidence, and you don't have any, just your word. But you have them, Leah says, looking him straight in the eye. You tested me, and you tested him. You're bound to have something, enough to get an investigative reporter interested. Khan looks at her silently. He sees in her eyes the same determination that Hana had when she tried to convince him of something. Only Leah doesn't ask. She demands. She's ready to go all the way. This is madness. He'll do everything he can to stop you, or to kill you right during the broadcast. Then we need to be prepared, says Leah. We need to exploit this. We need to make sure his attempt to stop me is his last mistake. We need to catch him red-handed. He thinks for a long time. Then he nods slowly. There's one man, a journalist. He's honest, and he has his own scores to settle with Rowe's people. I'll contact him. In 3 days, Everything is ready. The interview will be recorded in a small but renowned independent news channel studio. It will be broadcast live on the morning show. Kang has a person inside the studio to ensure security. Kang himself and a few of his most trusted men will be outside, monitoring the perimeter. Leah is wearing the same sheath dress Elaine taught her. She looks collected, confident. Inside, she's trembling. A journalist, a man named Aiden Reynolds, asks the first question. Leah begins to speak. At first, her voice trembles, but then, as she remembers her father, his face, his honesty, the fear recedes. She speaks clearly, distinctly, calling things by their proper names: fraud, forgery, pressure, arson, attempted murder. She shows copies of documents that Khan obtained from his sources. Scans of forged signatures and money transfer schemes appear on the screen. The broadcast lasts 3 minutes. Leah sees Reynolds' eyes light up with excitement. It's a sensation. Suddenly, a sharp voice comes through his earpiece. The journalist frowns and puts his hand to his ear. Then his face turns pale. He looks at Leah, then at the camera. We're experiencing technical difficulties. We're forced to interrupt. The image fades out. The screensaver appears on the screen. Silence reigns in the studio. Then the producer bursts in. Evacuate! Now! There's been a report of a bomb in the building! Everyone out! Chaos breaks out. People are running out of studios, out of offices. Leah is panicking. Where is Khan? Where are his people? She tries to call him, but there's no answer. She's swept up in the stream of people and carried out the back exit into the alley behind the building. There are fewer people here. She stops, trying to catch her breath, trying to figure out what to do. A black van comes around the corner. It stops abruptly next to her. The door slides open, and 2 men in black grab her. She tries to scream, to break free, but her hand holding the phone is twisted behind her back, and a bag is thrown over her head. She is pushed inside. At the last moment, before the bag completely obscures her view, she sees the driver's face, sitting behind the wheel and looking at her through the rearview mirror. It's S.O.I., an elderly driver, a traitor. But there's no malice in his eyes. There's panic, and something else. A warning? He quickly looks away. The doors slam shut. The van takes off abruptly. Leah comes to in the dark. The bag has been removed from her head. She's lying on the floor in an empty, windowless concrete room. A single light bulb is burning in the ceiling. She's not tied down. The door opens. Kang enters. Behind him are Jin and another man. Kang looks pale but collected. Where are we? Leah blurts out. In a safe place. In an old hangar on the outskirts that belongs to me, Khan says. He comes over and helps her to her feet. What's going on? So, he's back? No, So was working for us. Or rather, he was working on his chance. It was all a setup. We knew they'd try to kidnap you or kill you after the broadcast. So was tasked by Rowe to intercept you. We allowed it to happen. But according to our scenario, the real danger wasn't here. Bomb? In the studio? Yes. The message was real. But it didn't come from the police. It came from Rowe's people. They wanted to create panic, chaos, so that in the confusion, it would be easier to take you out. We knew about that, but we needed them to make an attempt, so that there would be proof of an assassination attempt. The van they kidnapped you in was heading here, to my secure location. Not to Rowe's warehouse. Leah sits down on a chair, her knees buckling. So, it was all an act? Not all. Kang's voice hardens. The bomb was real, and someone had to make sure the journalist with the materials had time to evacuate, and that suspicion wouldn't fall on that van until it had left the area. Kang pauses. He looks off to the side. I went out to the building when the evacuation started. I saw Reynolds being let out. He had the materials with him. Then I went to check the side entrance. Rowe's people were there. They were waiting for you. I distracted them. There was a conflict. He reluctantly lifts the hem of his jacket. A fresh, tight bandage is wrapped around his side. One of them managed to stab me with a knife. Not deep, but unsuccessfully. I fell. That's when the explosion went off. A small one, on the first floor. The smoke bomb they'd planted for greater effect went off, but everyone thought it was me, that I was at the epicenter. His face contorts in pain. Not so much physical as from memory. The ambulance arrived. They took me away. They notified Gene, and he coordinated everything from there. And you were already safe here, according to plan. Leah looks at him. He exposed himself, deliberately, to draw the fire onto himself, to give her and the evidence a chance to escape. to make the enemy believe he was out of the game. You could have died, she whispers. He shrugs, wincing in pain. It was a calculated risk, better than risking you and Reynolds. Now, I'm the victim of an assassination attempt by a whistleblower journalist, and that changes things. The police will be digging redoubled, and they already have all the materials Reynolds managed to save. And the recording of the broadcast, which was uploaded online despite the shutdown. The following days pass in a blur. Khan is in the hospital, guarded by his men, and, nominally, under police surveillance. Leah and Maylo are in another truly secret apartment. Aiden Reynolds releases the material. It explodes into the media. The recording of the interrupted interview goes viral. Documents confirm Markus's machinations. Rowe's stories are being published. The story of how he drove his partner to death, attempted to kill his daughter, and bribed people to cover up the crimes is causing public outrage. The police, who previously turned a blind eye to Rowe's cases because of his connections, can no longer do so. The pressure is too great. Moreover, there's a victim, Kang, who is presented as a private detective who helped Leah. Markus's arrest, Rowe's trial takes place in his own office, in full view of journalists. He screams that he's been set up, that it's a provocation. But the evidence is irrefutable. Leah officially testifies. Her death is recognized as a staged affair orchestrated by Rowe. Her name is cleared. She exists again. A week after Rowe's arrest, when the main noise has died down, Leah goes to the hospital. She leads Maylo by the hand. Jean walks them out. Khan is already in a regular ward. He's sitting on the bed, pale, but more alert. Next to him, perched on a chair, sits G. She's reading him a book. When Leah enters, G looks up and beams. She runs over to Maylo, careful not to disturb her father. Khan looks at Leah. The former heavy wall is gone from his eyes. There's fatigue, pain, but also a new calm. "Get well soon," says Leah, placing a small bouquet on the nightstand. "Thank you," he says. Then, more quietly, "I'm sorry. For everything. For the lies at the beginning. For the risk I pushed you to take." "You saved us," says Leah. "First from the cold, then from him. And you kept your word. History didn't repeat itself." He nods, looking at G, who laughs at Maylo, trying to catch her finger. "I wanted to atone, to save someone, to justify my existence after I couldn't save her," he says, his voice shaking slightly. "But I didn't expect to find her again, albeit in a different way." Leah understands. He hasn't found a replacement for Hana. He's found something new. Friendship, family. She doesn't know yet, but she knows they are now connected. Not by duty or fear, but by something stronger. A month passes. Khan is discharged from the hospital. Rowe awaits trial, his empire in tatters. Leah starts working at the very same law firm where she never got an interview. She was hired thanks to the impact of her story and a recommendation. They're having breakfast, not in the empty, sterile apartment sanctuary, in the same place, but now their things are there. Milo's toys are scattered in the living room next to G's dolls. On the refrigerator are G's drawings and Milo's first scribble. All four of their clothes hang in the closet. Khan prepares an omelet, muttering something about how Jin will never buy the right vegetables. G helps set the table, solemnly arranging the plates. Leah feeds Maylo porridge. The sun shines through the large window. It no longer seems like a porthole in a cage. It's simply a window into their home. The doorbell rings. It's the courier with documents for Leah. She signs them and returns to the kitchen. "Is everything okay?" Khan asks, placing a plate in front of her. "Yes, just a formality in the Rowe case," Leah says. She looks at him, at G, at her son. She thinks of that freezing night, of the fear, of the blood on the floor, of the explosion. She's been through it all. She's no longer a victim, not a pawn in someone else's game, not a ghost to atone for someone else's guilt. She is Leah, Milo's mother, a friend of this strange, broken, but incredibly strong family. She survived, not just physically, she survived as a person, and now she has a future, not a perfect one, not 100% safe one. What kind of future is that? But her own, a real one. She picks up her fork, catches Kang's eye, and he nods almost imperceptibly. No words are needed. They're home. Life is taking a new course, but it doesn't feel like a calm current. It's more like a river after a storm. The water is still murky, but the current has already been directed. Leah now has a routine. Mornings begin not with dread, but with Milo's cry for breakfast. She makes coffee while Kang, always the earliest to wake up, exercises in the living room, or reads the news on his tablet. G, now a frequent visitor, practically a tenant, sleeps in his room, which she herself covered with pony posters. Leah takes the subway to work. It's a simple, everyday occurrence, a symbol of freedom for her. No one watches her from behind. No one checks her route. She's just one of hundreds on the train. Sometimes, out of habit, she glances around, searching for familiar faces, but sees only tired strangers. At work, her colleagues treat her with curiosity and wary respect. Everyone knows her story. She doesn't hide it, but she doesn't discuss it either. She's focused on the task at hand, sorting through paperwork, studying. She wants to be useful, not just a symbol of survival, but a specialist. Khan was right to hire her here. The job gives her a foothold, independence. She spends her first paycheck on a new jumpsuit for Maylo and a huge cake for everyone. Sometimes I have nightmares at night. Not Markus Rowe and an alley, icy wind and hopelessness. She wakes up in a sweat and goes to the kitchen for a drink of water. Sometimes Khan is already there. He sleeps poorly too. They don't talk about dreams. They just sit silently at the table while the kettle boils. This silence isn't awkward. It's shared. They both bear scars, visible and invisible. One evening, when G was already asleep and Maylo had fallen asleep in her arms, Khan suddenly said, "I'm selling some of the cases, the ones that were dirty." Leah looks at him. "Why?" "Because I can't justify this as necessary anymore. I have something to lose now, and I don't want it to ever catch up with G or Maylo or—" He doesn't finish the sentence, but she understands. Or her. "What will you do?" "I have a legitimate business, a small logistics company. I haven't done it in a while. It's time." He says it simply, like fixing a faucet. But for him, it's a change of skin, a rejection of who he became after losing Hana, a return to something with a future. G spends more and more time with them. Her own apartment with her father is empty. She calls Leah Auntie Leah and Maylo my baby. She teaches him to crawl, and they fall together on the carpet, bursting into laughter. Khan watches, and in his eyes, Leah sees a strange mixture of sadness and deep happiness. He sees his daughter laughing again in a house filled with children's laughter. It heals him, piece by piece. They're not family in the traditional sense. They don't share last names, romance, or traditions. They share a past that began with ice and fear. They have a pact to protect each other. They have G and Maylo, who can no longer imagine life without each other. It's more than friendship. It's a union of survivors. Leah receives a letter from her lawyer. It's possible to recover some of her father's assets, confiscated from Rowe, through the courts. It's a lengthy process. She discusses it with Khan over dinner. He listens, then nods. "I'll give you the contact information for a good lawyer, better than the one in the Rowe case." "I want to pay him myself," says Leah. He looks at her, then grins. Briefly, almost imperceptibly. "Okay, terms? None. I just want to know what I can do." It was her choice. To accept his help with the most important things, safety, shelter when she needed it, but to build her new life on her own terms, on her own salary. He understood and respected that. There was no longer that imbalance of power, where he was the all-powerful patron and she the obligated captive. Now they were equals. Spring is coming. The snow is melting. Leah opens that same large window in the living room to let in some fresh air. She stands and looks out onto the street, at the passing cars, at the people passing by. She no longer looks for threats. She looks at the world that is hers again, the sound of little feet pattering behind her. G runs up and hugs her around the waist. "Aunt Lee, look! Buds on the trees. It'll be warm soon." Khan emerges from the office holding Maylo, who reaches for a ray of sunshine. Leah turns and looks at them, at this strange, pieced-together trio that has become her anchor. She's not thinking about the past, not about fear. She's thinking about tomorrow, about Maylo taking his first step soon, about G starting a new class, about Khan finally being able to forgive himself. She looks out the window, and in her reflection on the glass, she doesn't see the hunted, frozen woman from the alley. She sees a strong woman, a mother, a friend, a survivor. "Yes," she says, hugging G. "It's going to be very warm soon. And it's not about the weather. It's about their life. It's just beginning. And this time, for real." She turns away from the window. Khan's gaze meets hers. There's no longer the former heaviness in it. There's a slight weariness and a deep, new confidence. He sees in her not a reflection of Hana, not a ghost of the past. He sees simply Leah. He hands her a cup of hot tea. Take it. There's a draft. Leah takes the cup. Warmth spreads through her palms. But it's no longer vital. It just feels good. Milo coos, grabbing onto Daddy's finger. I'm taking G to a swim meet tomorrow, says Can. You can come with us if you want. With Milo, Leah nods. She looks at her small family, pieced together from the shattered fragments. They are saved. They are free. And now they have the most ordinary, most important thing ahead of them, a tomorrow full of simple plans.